Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to today's video. Today's video is going to be on this past weekend in the NFL Wildcard and also on the college national championship game. First, let's start with the NFL Wildcard games. We had some, pretty good NFL weekend. Very close games, all pretty close games. Came down to the last play on 3 out of the 4 games. The only one that didn't have a last like an end of the game exciting play was the Texans and the Colts, which was the first game to start the playoffs. In that game, Houston was playing at home, and I don't know, they just didn't come out to play. The Colts ended up, they ended up picking up a 21-point lead. Houston ended up, they got 7 points, kind of late, but it was just too late. Couldn't really get anything going, and so the Colts move on. I think they're gonna end up playing the Chiefs next week. But yeah, the Colts, they look pretty good. They ended the season pretty good, and good job from them. They ended the season pretty good. The Texans had that 9-game winning streak in the season, but I don't know, a lot of iffy wins there. Iffy wins, or teams that they played against not really too great either, right? So I don't know, so it's good to see Andrew Luck, perform at this level again. But what was it? The second game was actually the Cowboys and the Seahawks, and that one, that was a pretty good game itself too. I think towards the end, they kind of went back and forth. One thing that kind of went against the Seahawks was that Janikowski got injured at the end of the first half. I think he attempted a long field goal. I want to say it was like 57, 58 yards. And he got injured at the end, trying to hit that 58-yard field goal. I don't know if they mentioned what it was, but it looked like he did something to his hamstring. So during halftime, they had their punter kicking some practice field goals just in case they needed them. And from the video, it looked like he just wasn't hitting any of the practice field goals. He was shanking them. So what Seattle ended up doing was, whenever they scored touchdowns, they would just go for 2 instead of trying to miss the extra point. And I think they scored 2 touchdowns after halftime, at least 2 touchdowns, and they got the 2-point conversion on both of the 2-point attempts. Dallas scored at the end, I think with less than a minute left, or about a minute left, something like that. And Seattle, they were driving, but at the end it was just they couldn't. They scored the touchdown, got the 2-point, and they were down by 2. Then they went for the onside kick, and again it was up to the punter to come up with the onside kick, and I'm guessing he's never done it before, and the percentage is very low for onside kicks to be recovered anyways this season with the new rule change. But I guess he's never really done these onside kicks because he did like a short kick to like the middle of the field or something like that, and that was it for the Seahawks. But that was on Saturday. Sunday, the first game of the day was the Chargers versus the Baltimore Ravens, right? And the Chargers ended up getting a pretty good lead. I think they got up to 23-3 late in the fourth quarter. Lamar Jackson, he didn't have a good overall game at all. I think he had one or two fumbles and maybe an interception somewhere in there, but I think he had like 40 yards passing through 3 quarters. And at least, the commentators were talking about, maybe they're going to bring in Joe Flacco to try to lead a comeback or something, but he didn't end up coming in. The Ravens ended up making it a close game. They got a couple scores at the end of the game where they made it a 6-point lead for the Chargers, and they ended up, they had a drive and one on the last play, the Chargers got to Lamar Jackson, ended up causing a fumble, recovered the fumble, and that was it. The Chargers got the ball and they kneeled it, game over. But they cut it close at the end. I thought the Chargers were gonna choke again, but they ended up pulling it off. And then the last game of the day for NFL ended up being the Eagles versus the Bears, right? This was a low scoring game, a lot of field goals, and a lot of field goals going back and forth. And if you're an NFL fan or you watch a lot of Sports Center, I'm sure you've seen the highlights already, but basically Philadelphia, they drove down at the like with a minute left or so, and they ended up scoring a touchdown to go ahead. They had a 1-point lead. They went for 2 to try to make it a 3-point lead in case the Bears drove and kicked the field goal for the tie. So they went for 2. They didn't get it, so they were only up by 1. So Chicago gets the ball, and they had a one long play where they got up to like the 35-yard line or something like that. They got a little bit closer, and then they, setting up for the field goal. They kick the field goal. It's good, but, like they do most of the time, the Eagles called a timeout to ice the kicker, and it worked. So they set up for the field goal again. The Bears kicker, Parkey, kicks it. It's going to the left, hits the left upright, bounces down, and then hits the crossbar, and then bounces out. And that was it. There was no time left in the game, and that was it. That was it. That was the end of the game. And pretty tough for, first of all, the Bears kicker, and the rest of the Bears players, and also their fans. Man, they had a great season, and to end it like that has to be rough. And they're showing the highlights, or lowlights in this case, that particular kicker had hit the post, like I think at least 4 times, something like that. But yeah, man. So the Colts are gonna be versus the Chiefs. The Chargers are going against the Patriots. The Eagles are playing the Saints, and the Cowboys are gonna go and play the Rams. So looks like we got some pretty good games, coming up. So after that, Today was the national championship in college. You had Alabama versus Clemson, and right out of the gates, man, the game, at least we thought it was going to be a high scoring game, like a shootout. I think Clemson. I think they went 3-0 on their first drive. They punted it to Alabama. Alabama, I think, on the second play of their drive, threw a pass to the left-hand side of the field. Got picked off and taken back for 6. Okay, so then Clemson kicks off, and then again, like the second or third play of that drive, Alabama goes deep and they score. And it happens again, like the next couple drives where both teams score, and like 9-10 minutes into the game, it was 14-13 because Alabama ended up missing an extra point. But after that, I think Alabama scored a field goal to go up 16-14. And then after that, Clemson took over, man. They scored 30 unanswered points, and they didn't look back from there. It's kind of pretty crazy to see Alabama lose like that, a blowout. I don't know. I kind of, not that I predicted it, but after seeing Alabama, the way they finished their game versus Oklahoma, they had a good lead versus Oklahoma, and then towards the end of the game, I don't know if they just kind of let their foot off the gas or what happened, but Oklahoma, they made it the final score closer than it should have been, but that kind of, they ended up giving up 34 points to Oklahoma. And going into this game, I knew that Clemson had a better offense than Oklahoma, so I was thinking Clemson had a chance to win for sure, but I didn't think it was gonna be like this, man. But so I think the last 4 or 5 years they won 2 of them, 2 national championships. So Alabama and Clemson, they're just going back and forth last few years. Yeah, so that's pretty much it for this video. Talked about the NFL Wildcard weekend and also the college national championship. So if you liked the video, hit the like button, subscribe, and tune in for the next video. Thank you.